Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the NWR Communications Near-Term Resources Conference. My name is Kerry Stevenson, and we have one of my favorite commodities. It's gold. West Wits Mining, ASX code is WW1. Joining us today is Jacques van Heerden. He is the Managing Director. This is a spectacular project over there in South Africa in the West, what is it? The Witwatersrand Basin. I always get that wrong, Jacques, always get that wrong. I'm really excited about it. It is a bit of a tongue twister,
yes.
It's a tongue twister. So let's start off. And ladies and gentlemen, if you'd like to ask questions, make sure you put it in the Q&A and I will ensure that Jacques can answer all your questions. So Jacques, give us an update because you've just delivered a very robust scoping study.
Thanks a lot, Kerry, and thanks for everybody that's joining us this afternoon. I believe I'm the last speaker, so I hope it's entertaining enough for everybody to sort of stick it out for the last presentation. So thank you very much. Kerry, yes, I've presented this presentation for the company a couple of times, and what we tend to do is sort of show progress as we go along, you know. So we've got two distinctive projects here. One, our main project, is the project here in South Africa, and then we've got an exploration target there in Australia, which we recently announced that we went into a JV agreement with Rio. You know, so that's also quite exciting for us. But the focus at the moment for us is our South African project. You know, so if I take you through the just a quick company highlight and a company profile for us. We here in South Africa, we sit on a significant resource of 4.28 million ounces at a grade of 4.5 gram a ton. You know, and what makes this very interesting for us is that already we've got about 70% in a measured and indicated category. So our ore body is very well defined. We've commenced with the early mining initiative already, you know, where in a very short space of time, the guys were able to establish the site, rehabilitate the old decline and the old box cut that was there. And, you know, the guys are now in a position where they've started mining already. I'll get onto that a bit later. And then, you know, part of this utilizing the old infrastructure from the old mine that's there. And people must understand it's not pillar robbing that we plan to do or going into old mining area. We're utilizing old existing infrastructure to basically start a new mine. You know, the old timers have left significant resources further to the what we call the east of the old shafts, and that's the block that we're going for. And then, you know, we, like you mentioned, we recently completed a scoping study that we published that shows the full potential of this block, and it shows that we've got a 27-year life of mine. So there's a significant amount of gold here, and it's now for us to put it into process to deliver that. And then, as I mentioned, our Mount Cecelia project. Last year we went through a whole aerial survey program, and that identified 8 targets. And now we entered into a JV with Rio, and then, you know, our prospecting or our works program now is in approval stage, and we hope to then commence drilling now when the season opens up there in WA. So that's also quite exciting for us.
What did you like about, because you know, I've always known West Wits as with the Witwatersrand project in South Africa. What attracted you to Mount Cecelia with a farm in with Rio?
Look, it's a very unexplored area that we sit. So that's a real greenfields opportunity for us. And we saw it as such. And that's why we took the view to spend a bit of money and to see if there's any geological anomalies there that we can pick up. And it was, and I'll show you a picture a bit later, but it was really in the action taking place. There's a whole bunch of discoveries that was made in that same area. And we were sitting right in the middle of it. So it made sense for us to progress this. You know?
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. So, all right. So there's just a slide of our current corporate activities that's happening. We've got about 1.8 billion shares in circulation. Our current market cap is about 64 million Aussie. We've got a bit of cash in the bank following a recent capital raise that we did. in December. And yeah, it's now up to us to sort of push this project forward, and to hopefully, get the trend of the share price going upwards. All right. There's our board. Mr. Michael Quinnett here has been involved in this company for quite a while, so he's well known on the ASX scene there as well. Then we've got our board that's very supportive of this project. Our Hume Scholes is also been a long-term director of the company, and he was very instrumental. Him and Tozama, our head of corporate affairs, they were very instrumental in sorting out all our regulatory issues that we had and obtaining our mining right. So everything is now done and we can now move forward. All right. So just to give people a bit of context of where our South African project is located, there's a little picture up there, and it's literally about 15 kilometers to the west of the Johannesburg CBD. And that's right in the heart of the old Central Rand goldfields. And what we now found is that, there's still that 4 million ounces that's available for us to mine. This used to be an old Durban-Roodepoort deep mine. They closed the mine in about 2000, and at the time when they closed it, they still had about 12 million ounces on their resources. So there's still a significant amount of gold there. Now it's for us to sort of chip away and increase our resource as we go forward. Let me just jump to the next one. So as I mentioned, this is our resource statement that shows 4.2, of which about 3 million sits in measured and indicated. And from this this graph here, the reason why we show it so early is that we can see there's, we can maintain a very high 60,000 ton a month, or 65,000 ounces per annum mining production rate there, and and that's then to exploit this this resource that we've got. So we also have a uranium target that we're also working on that sits to the east of our current operation. Now that's also something that's quite exciting for us, because what we sit there with is a uranium target, then also with a gold target that's currently in exploration phase for the uranium, and then our gold is there in inferred, so it makes sense for us to push both of them forward. And what we've done in the past, we've identified an exploration target of about 12 to 16 million pounds. So if you combine that then with our potential gold resource, then, it can become a valuable mine for us, a valuable operation for us. So we've now started to progress our exploration target and then to convert that into a resource. So we've appointed the geological consultants already, and it's now for us and the drilling contractors to start drilling and then push this project forward. So as I mentioned there, we've recently completed our feasibility, our scoping study, and that showed 4 areas that is available for us for mining. One is the Qala Shallows area, which we did a feasibility study on, and then the other 3 sort of made up the rest of the scoping study. The main reef package has been mined in the past, but there's quite a lot left. That the grades there is very attractive. We're looking at grades of about 5 to 8 gram a ton there. The bird reef is slightly lower in grade, but it's quite close to our current infrastructure, so we can share the infrastructure and minimize the capital. And then the Qala deeps there is basically just going to be a continuation of from the shallows to the deep. So it's going to be just ongoing mining base. And we were very encouraged with the results that we got from the scoping study. It showed a 27-year life of mine. Our operating cost here is a very competitive operating cost here in South Africa of $11.38 per ounce. It shows a relatively small capital requirement for this, or peak funding requirement, and that is specifically based on the fact that our view is that we would initially toll treat and then take a view later on the project. So I think and what we saw there is that the foundation of our scoping study showed that we've got a robust project, and that excites us, And then we sat down and we said, okay, well, how do we now sort of really maximize the output of this? And that's where we came up with what we call our Project 200. And the objective there is really to look at what we can do to produce 200,000 tons per month, which is roughly then, say 200,000 ounces per annum, So that's sort of the plan that we've got, and that's our ambition, if I can call it like that. And we've identified that now. We are now working with our engineering consultant to address the issues that I've highlighted there. And then, hopefully we're in a position where we can say if we made it to the 200, to the Project 200, but that's definitely our ambition, is to see how much we can stress this massive ore body, and then, see what we can get out of it, and then what the CapEx and OpEx impacts would be if we then really maximize that. So, that's quite exciting for us, and then, and that's basically going to look at taking our life of mine and bringing it forward. Instead of having a 27-year life of mine, maybe looking at say something like a 18-year or a 20-year life of mine, and then and see what the results would be from that. Okay, so that's quite exciting for us. And then what we've done now is we've also completed a feasibility study, a definitive feasibility study that shows that just the one project, and I'm quickly going to jump back, that blue and pink that you see there, just that project alone has got a 17-year life of mine, and we're in a position where we can mine at 50,000 ounces at a steady state for 10 years on it. So it shows that even just at stage one of ours has got a significant life there, So we sit with this massive ore body, and it's now for us to really start the process. As we said, our early mining initiative has started. It is now really for us to start exploiting this ore body that's available to us. This is just a quick slide of what we've done to date. You will see there, that's the old existing box cut. It's a computer-generated one, so I'll get to a site layout a bit later, but that's a computer-generated one. We rehabilitated that grey decline that's going down there, and the guys are now developing these two drives down to get to the blocks, similar blocks sitting like this, where we can then start a stoping operation. And then the project, the feasibility project that we will kick off once we've got our funding secured, is then this one that will take us to the deep block to the east, where the big ore body sits. So this really that we sit with is an early mining initiative. It's almost a proof of concept, and to show the people that yes, West Wits is now one of the kids on the block, and we're ready to start mining, and that will then, prove that we are able to operate, we are a credible operator, and that will then attract the likes of, the big players in the area for us to conclude a toll treating arrangement.
Yeah, are there any challenges in operating in South Africa at the moment, or is it pretty steady as she goes at the moment?
It's very steady at the moment. I think where we were, say 2 years ago, with all the questions surrounding COVID and all those type of things, that's been largely eliminated. Most of the mining industry here in South Africa have now accepted COVID regulations as part of daily life, So, and our government have also lifted some of the restrictions now on COVID, So that is smoothing out, and until now we haven't really received any, let's say, obstruction for moving our project forward. So no, there's no issue here in South Africa to continue with this project. And then, it's now just for us and the team here to push forward. So there's been no issues holding us back. So just the last slide on this, just to show people of that's familiar with this project of how far we've come now. This is our full infrastructure. And what's nice about this is that we don't foresee increasing our infrastructure. We'll keep with the sort of the low footprint or the low impact footprint that we've got here. This is all prefab and mobile units that we've got here. And then we've got a very small footprint that we've basically got here. And you can see there also, even though we are so close to the CBD of Johannesburg, it's surrounded by old tailings facilities and those type of things, you know. So our direct impact on the surrounding people, which is about 1 kilometer away, is minimal, you know, because most of basically all our operations is underground. You know, there's nothing on surface. There you can see when this picture was taken, our ore stockpile was just starting to take shape. It's grown a bit since then. So yeah, it's all looking positive for us at the moment. Then a quick slide on our Mount Cecelia project. As I mentioned there, that our little red block there sits nicely in the middle of all the discoveries that was recently announced, or maybe say over the last 3 years announced. And that's what sort of prompted the discussions between us and Rio to enter into a JV agreement. And you can see there the main objective would be for them to go for target 1 and 7, and I think target 3 as well. That's the one that we will now see as priority targets now. And then once the 2022 field season opens up, then we'll start drilling there, you know, as part of our arrangement with Heerden. Okay, yeah, and that was a very quick overview, and you know, just a couple of confirming points of why we think you should invest in and take us seriously as an operator. We've got a significant life of mine here. You know, we can stress the project. Like I mentioned, we've got the opportunity to look at maybe project 200, and then we've got that farming arrangement with Mount Cecelia as well. So the way that we've set it up just sort of points towards success. And then the last point I just want to make is that, you know, we've realized that within the company we required some skills, and you know, we've appointed Taurus International to help us secure the debt funding and help us on the corporate finance side. So I think we are serious to develop this project, and we are also then serious to sort of push forward with our you know, funding arrangements to get this project going. All right. Thank you very much, Kerry.
Okay, Jaak, I've got lots of questions here from the audience. I'm going to pull a couple of them together. Zhuang says, shareholders are a little bit worried about dilution if the debt funding is unsuccessful. So they want to know, when will the next raise be required? And if there's any issues, are you still on track with a gold pour this April?
In terms of our dilution, we're very wary of the fact that future capital requirements and debt requirements will, you know, we're trying to minimize the dilution on the current shareholders who's been supporting us really for the last couple of years. So, and that's why specifically we've appointed this Taurus International guys to not only look at debt funding opportunities, but to also look at other funding opportunities, specifically to look to minimize the dilution that we can put onto shareholders. So although I don't have a definitive answer at the moment, but it is really in the back of our minds that there's a lot of funding opportunities available. What Taurus is looking for is sort of the tier 1 funding, debt funding arrangement.
Yeah.
And then, you know, that's sort of the baseline. And then, you know, we'll go down basically down the ladder and see what other funding arrangements are available, you know, and then, you know, and then we'll take it from there.
But being very aware of dilution to share. I mean, I know you and I have spoken before about the fact that you do care about the shareholders and you do understand dilution. So it's not something that you would want to do. So I guess it'll be a sort of a debt / equity, and it's too early to say what that's going to look like. But somebody else wants to know some of the key milestones to increase the valuation of the company. They're saying you're currently trading on an EV resource of $12 an ounce, which appears pretty good, pretty attractive. So what do you think are the key milestones to increase that valuation?
There's two things that we're working on feverishly at the moment, and that is to tie down a long-term toll treating arrangement with some of the big players here in South Africa. And the minute that we are able to do that, that's then the minute that we would be able to unlock our project finance. And I think that's a key milestone for us. And that sort of, it sort of ties in with our previous discussion about TARM helping us to secure the debt funding. So I think once we make that announcement, that's going to be the biggest milestone for us, because then we know everything else is out of the way, and then the team can just focus on developing the project.
We're running out of time, so I'm going to ask a couple of more. A lot of them are on the funding, how's funding for South Africa coming along? We've just spoken about that. Have you been approached in any way for a joint venture or sale for WBP Mine?
I can honestly say no, that we haven't been approached yet. But I think our position is that we won't rule it out. We'll always look at the benefits, the pros and cons of doing such a transaction if someone do approach us. But I think the path that we're starting off now is that, we've started our early mining initiative. We can prove to the people that we are positioning ourselves to be a credible operator. And then if someone comes along and looks at us, then great. If not, then, we've set ourselves up to mine this ore body. We will continue then to do so.
How do you manage the JV with Rio Tinto alongside the operations in South Africa? Because they're very different, opposite sides of the world, if you like. So how are you managing that as I guess, a process? And that's part one. Part two is, how much are you involved with this joint venture? What are Rio doing and what's WW1 doing at Mount Cecelia?
Okay, I think, we've got to consider that for the last 2 years, it's been almost impossible for anybody to travel anywhere, True. And so that was difficult to set itself up. And I think the discussions that we've had with the guys at Rio has been very positive. They accepted us, we didn't get the feeling that we're being bullied, if I can put it like that. And luckily then also our CFO is from Perth. So he almost, is one of the local guys there, So that interaction with us has been very well, that we're now waiting to see what the works plan that I discussed now. Once that gets approved, then we'll move over into, into a drilling phase. Our geologist is in close contact with the Rio team as well. So even though we're not responsible for the day-to-day operations, we will be part of the, let's say, the overall management and strategy of this block.
Well, there's lots going on at the moment, Jack, and congratulations, because the project in South Africa, it's underway. There's lots going on, lots of news flow coming up. So for now, thanks so much for joining us at the NWR Communications Conference.
Great. Thanks a lot, Kerry. Thanks for the time. And thanks for the audience joining us. Thanks a lot.